Perhaps the funniest story I've ever heard, and most of my high school classmates may agree with me, was one told by a chemistry teacher who was probably a month or two old in our high school. He narrated a story of how a certain professor in the old days was going around Europe discussing how to calculate the speed of light and answering questions around light, an invention he had engineered at the time. He had traveled to many universities, giving the talk to various professors and lecturers and students alike. All that while in the company of his traveling companion, his driver. Every time he gave the talk, the driver was sitting somewhere close to the door, listening with everyone else in the room. After being present for many of the trips, the driver spoke to the professor and said, "We've traveled together for these talks, and I've been listening to every one of them. I feel I know every word you will say and how to do the calculations well, just like you. I humbly request that in our next visit, you let me do the presentation instead, while you sit at the seat close to the door." The professor thought about it and decided it was a great idea. And besides, it wouldn't hurt to hear someone else share his knowledge. Like every room they had entered to give the talk, this one too was full of professors and men of status and students and lecturers. And since it was an era where technology had not reached to the level it is today, with no social media platforms that have profile pictures and pictures of everyone, the professor was not known facially, especially from regions he had visited yet. So they had no reason to question if the driver was or was not the professor. The meeting began, and the driver in the professor's shoes presented eloquently, and everyone was amazed. For the professor, it was a silent lesson to see life from the driver's perspective, while for the driver, it was also a silent lesson to see life from the professor's perspective, get to revel in the glory of having information. Everything was flowing well as he wowed the crowd with new information, which always spelled power in that time and in this new world today. Then the time for questions came, and every genius in the room was asking questions to the driver, come the professor. He answered until one question which boggled his mind, and he knew he couldn't respond adequately. He had no idea how to respond. That part of the presentation by the professor had passed him. He looked at the crowd waiting for an answer, felt anxious and confused. Then suddenly, he laughed out loud, and the crowd was confused, and he said, "That is a very simple question that even my driver here can answer." Instead of tapping out and saying he didn't know, or maybe he will research and get back to them, he sought help by allowing the real professor to tackle the question. I swear, how the teacher delivered this story with his Abagusi accent really made us crack loudly. It was a memorable moment. The reason why the chemistry teacher told us this story was because he had asked a classmate to define what is chemistry. The classmate tarried, then said he didn't know how to respond. So he told us this story and said to him, "The next time I ask you a question and you don't know the answer to it, just respond that that is a very simple question that even my deskmate here can answer. Then I will gladly move to your deskmate." Just a single moment has made me to never forget the chemistry teacher. In life, we tend to speak of we don't have, or we can't afford, or we don't know. Sometimes it requires us to trick nature and our subconscious mind and not yield to a defeated mindset of how we don't have, or can't have, or don't know, or can't afford. Use certain mantras to counter that. Be positive. Seek help in solving life's question by involving friends and making alliances with people who know the answers to the questions life is asking you. That's all from me, the fake guru, Remy Scott.